Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering DEI. So-called DEI professionals say the fear is real as the Trump administration targets DEI for destruction. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. So-called DEI professionals are losing their jobs. Due to corporate rollbacks and political opposition, many in the DEI field face layoffs and instability. They can't get work. Once they lose their jobs, they're not able to just go and find another DEI job because the industry is shrinking because it's being eliminated. Trump issued a new executive order, and that mandate targets federal DEI positions and pressures private companies to step back from diversity programs. It also cancels private consulting contracts. So for all the people who had friends in the federal government and got $1 million here and $5 million there and $20 million over here, paid for by the American taxpayers, that nonsense is over. Many companies like Target are reversing DEI policies, fearing legal and political consequences, because it was, and will always be illegal to discriminate against people based on their race. The DEI people were pushing their racism as racism with a reason. We get to do this. We're allowed to do this because we want to, and we say so, and we have good intentions. No, they aren't allowed to do it. They weren't allowed to do it, and now they're being stopped. And what they haven't seen yet are severe civil lawsuits punishing the companies that did this. There will be more and more of these lawsuits. I just covered one yesterday, the third major lawsuit against Paramount for discriminating against a veteran who was disabled, who was an expert cameraman who was trained and got commendations from the military for his excellent work, but wasn't good enough because he didn't have the right skin color to get a full-time position. And they told him that to his face twice. Of course you're going to get sued for that. And past the civil litigation, they're going to get investigated by the DOJ. Civilly, but let's hope criminally as well, because this kind of discrimination was widespread. And the people doing this need to be held to account. Many DEI consultants and professionals in the industry worry about job security and the long-term future of diversity efforts. Right-wing groups and normal people are suing companies over DEI policies, contributing to the growing backlash. But DEI experts are warning that more workplace inequities will take place, leading to more discrimination cases if you don't give them millions of dollars to sit around as DEI consultants and watch companies and make sure they're racist. Many DEI people also argue that DEI is misunderstood and unfairly labeled as divisive or unnecessary. Well, if you're a DEI professional and you're selling the services and you're implementing the services, don't you think it's your responsibility to explain how your services are legitimate? Without DEI policies, some worry that companies may be hesitant to promote or hire underrepresented individuals. Companies would love to hire people who are underrepresented or overrepresented. As long as they're qualified, they're going to get the jobs. That's the whole point of living in a free country. Some businesses like Costco, Apple, and JP Morgan have still continued to support DEI despite the backlash. And there will be companies that until they get the letter from the United States government, from the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, informing them that they need to stop these racist activities, they're going to keep doing it. You wait for the letter. In business, a lot of times, we do what we want to do and we wait for the letter. Once you get a letter, you get a notice. Not usually from the DOJ, but in civil business matters, you get into a dispute, attorneys start to get involved. That's when you have to really start to take things very seriously. You should always do the right thing, but in business, it's very easy to upset other people. You get a letter. These companies are waiting for the letter. They'll get the letter. Just give it a couple more weeks or at most a few more months. Experts believe that while DEI may change in structure, the need for workplace inclusion and fairness will still persist. CNN is starting to freak out a little bit. Quote, the fear is real as Trump administration targets DEI. Professionals worry about the future of their industry. I don't consider these DEI people professionals. I'm going to just tell you that. However, technically, my rule for professional is if someone pays you to do what you do, that makes you a professional in it. So sure, in a matter of speaking, you could call them professionals. When it comes to using the term professional, it's about getting paid for it. It's not about being good at it. Rafael Fantauzi has worked in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles in the retail, home health, and pharmaceutical industries for the last 8 years. Couldn't he have just gotten a legitimate job? Yes, but this job probably paid more. The Philadelphia area resident takes pride in helping improve the workplace culture and experience for women, people with disabilities, veterans, and black and brown people, he said. But as Fantauzi, who left his DEI chief job at a pharmaceutical company last month due to restructuring, searches for a new role in the field, those opportunities may be shrinking as President Donald Trump and his conservative allies wage war on DEI. After taking office last week, Trump ordered all federal DEI workers to be placed on paid leave and signed an executive order targeting private companies with DEI programs. And most importantly, his executive order killed $420 million in DEI consulting contracts, money that would go directly into the pockets of the people pushing this racist agenda. There's no other way to say it. And I don't like calling people racist, but I haven't updated my definition of racist that I've had all my life. When you discriminate against people based on their skin color, that does make you a racist. Trump's executive orders came as several major corporations rolled back their DEI initiatives in response to conservative backlash and lawsuits from right-wing groups. Because all of what these companies have been doing has always been illegal. On Friday, Target became the latest big company to reverse its DEI programs. The shift in the industry, DEI consultants and analysts say, has left many professionals concerned about their job stability and the future of their careers in the field. Quote, "There is fear and the fear is real," Fantauzi said. "I think that some of the fear is a lack of understanding. What are the repercussions?" Still, Fantauzi said he remains optimistic that when the dust settles, companies will reinvent DEI in a way that makes sense from a legal and a financial standpoint. You would think if you're actually in this industry that you would be thinking about how could DEI actually make sense from a legal standpoint? Well, you could think about that for a long time, but when it comes to discrimination, there really is no legal way to do discrimination. We have multiple laws that protect people against discrimination because it is wrong and it's not sustainable. So if you're trying to erase merit, you can't erase merit. You could create a nonprofit and then collect money for that nonprofit that gives people education so that they're more capable of competing in a merit-based environment if that's what the issue is. Or if someone really believed, who was in the DEI world, that people were being discriminated against and not given opportunities because of their skin color or sexual preference or whatever, then you can have a legal fund that would sue companies, and you better be ready to show some evidence because otherwise you're wasting money. That also could be a nonprofit. But people just basically don't want to come up with these kinds of active solutions or creative solutions because they take effort and because essentially they're not leeching off companies and taking money for essentially doing nothing. This would actually require real effort, and it's the only legal solution if you want to encourage people to contribute to some kind of solution where, sure, I'm underrepresented or I'm underprivileged, I can't do the job, I don't have the skill set to do the job, I wasn't raised in a situation where my parents made sure I read books or whatever the situation is, I don't know. Whatever people's limitations are, if you want a nonprofit to help people get their skills outside of the corporate environment, that's probably more than legal and fine, but it takes effort, and that's what you'd have to do. Several major companies contacted by CNN did not respond to requests for information about the status of their DEI programs. Other companies and DEI executives declined to comment. Sean Harper, founder of the Race and Equity Center at the University of Southern California, said he's spoken with DEI professionals who are anxious about the state of the industry and how the changes could impact their teams and the work they value. You're not going to get paid, and that's what we're talking about here. Quote, "They're afraid of losing their jobs, of losing their livelihoods, of not being able to get another job," Harper said. Right now, the jobs that those folks have been doing for years are not in vogue. There's also a sense of anger in the industry because DEI work is largely misunderstood by critics, Harper said. Is there not one intelligent person in the entire DEI network, the entire DEI universe? Because look, there really is hundreds of millions of dollars at stake that these guys make in consulting fees just with the federal government. But outside the federal government, there's even more money that's spent on this. Billions upon billions of dollars. So is there not like one intelligent person who could come up with some explanation that these people could just repeat after he or she came up with it? They don't have one slick person? I don't think it's a legitimate explanation. Whatever you come up with, there's no reason to have racist programs. But at least have one person come up with one explanation that they can repeat, yet they run around all angry at each other because no, there isn't one person apparently who is intelligent who could come up with some kind of smooth sales pitch and Anthony Robbins this thing. Just sell them a service. No, you don't have anybody that can do that. No, they don't. And I'll tell you this much, it is not a legitimate service, but if they paid the right person, and I would never do it, but if they paid the right person a couple of $1 million and they were focused on this, they would at least have some kind of a pitch that made some business, marketing, emotional kind of sense to it. But they can't get their act together to even do that. Experts claim DEI was created because marginalized communities have not always had equal opportunities for jobs or felt a sense of belonging in majority white corporate settings. Quote, they, the DEI professionals, are so incredibly frustrated that they're being lied on and misrepresented as too woke, divisive people who hate America, according to Harper. From extensive trial and error and having to do a lot of these articles talking about DEI and what so-called DEI professionals say, I've discovered that lied on means lied about. So when DEI professionals are upset because they say they're being lied on, what they mean to say is that they're being lied about, that people are not telling the truth about who they are and what they really do. According to DEI experts, the reversal of DEI programs could undo the progress made over the past decade to make workplaces more inclusive and supportive of employees from underserved groups. Yeah, that could happen, and it's also going to prevent a lot of people who don't deserve jobs to not get jobs. That's also going to prevent people from getting promotions who didn't earn those promotions. And that's good for the company, and it's good for the entire workplace culture. Because if you work somewhere and somebody gets a promotion that you should have gotten because you know what you're doing, regardless of your sexual preference or your race, if someone else gets that promotion, what does it tell you? It tells you, well, why should I even work at this company? What's the point? If I'm not going to get recognized because I have the wrong race or gender or sexual preference, why should I put the effort in at this company, which weakens the whole company, which damages the company that everybody relies on for their own income and for their families? That's how serious this stuff is. Naomi Wheelis, Chief Custom Officer at Nextech and an advocate for diversity, said DEI initiatives have helped elevate women, people of color, and LGBT people to leadership roles at companies. Now, Wheelis worries some companies may be reluctant to hire too many non-white people because of how it might be perceived. Oh, you mean like actual blowback for the nonsense you guys have been pushing? Yeah, that could actually happen. And if you don't think about consequences in life, then you're going to suffer those consequences. Because if you want to do something, you of course have to plan around the consequences and take the consequences into account. They didn't do that with DEI, and now they have to pay the price. Quote, subconsciously, hiring decisions could start to sway. Decisions on promotions could start to sway in such a way that it becomes harder for these groups to get ahead, Wheelis said. Oh, like maybe if you got advances that you shouldn't have gotten, then maybe you have to balance the scales and kind of reverse those promotion opportunities. She may have an idea there. Quote, we've suffered in silence for so long. Then we worked very hard to try to level the playing field, she added. We begin to see the fruits of that labor, and now the rug is being snatched from under our feet. Because you stole the rug, because it's not your rug. You didn't have access to that opportunity because you deserve that opportunity. You don't get opportunities in life based on entitlement. You get opportunities in life based on what you contribute and based on what your family helped you with and really based on what God started you with. Plus all the effort that you put in on top of that. Fantozzi said he expects some people from underrepresented communities to leave the federal government or corporations that drop DEI because they don't feel valued. The result is a loss of talent that in some cases might be hard to replace, he said. Let's be honest, if these people got hired and they didn't really earn their position, no one is going to miss them. They're not even going to be noticed that they're gone. People actually have work to do. They're not all just looking at, let me see the skin color and the sexual preference of the people that I work with. And basically people who are at their job working are focused on their work and trying to get ahead on their work. Yes, they can mess around and screw around with their friends at work. That's cool. But the people that get ahead earn getting ahead, and they're not concerned like, how's the diversity where I'm working? Not the people that are focused on their jobs. When these people leave or get phased out of the company, if they didn't belong there in the first place because they didn't earn their position, then no one will miss them when they're gone. And if at some point the employer said, you know what, I need some more unproductive people here, they could put an ad out and they're going to get all kinds of people to apply for jobs that they don't deserve. And if they want to hire those people, they can hire those people regardless of their skin color. It's very easy to find people to hire who are not qualified for jobs. Believe me, I've hired a lot of people. And it's hard to find the good ones, but there are all kinds of nutcases and people that you shouldn't hire that do apply and are more than willing to show up and take your paycheck to be at that job. Harper said the dismantling of DEI offices may lead to more harassment and discrimination lawsuits against companies because the policies and people that hold employees accountable won't be there. In many cases, DEI offices are charged with training workers on preventing unconscious bias, discrimination, inequities, and sexual harassment. Sexual harassment at companies is important, and people are people, and you have to watch out for that. Sometimes people go really inappropriately with other employees. But there is no such thing as unconscious bias. That's nonsense. It's horrendous. It should have never been introduced to the corporate environment. And it's why many companies have pulled back on their nonsense diversity training. Quote, existing inequities are going to widen. They're going to worsen as a result of this, Harper said. Women are going to be disadvantaged. Qualified women can be excellent workers. They don't need Harper's help. Despite all of this nonsense, some companies are still continuing their DEI programs. Companies like Costco, Apple, and JP Morgan have publicly reaffirmed their commitments to DEI in recent weeks. The NFL is also still committed to DEI, according to Commissioner Roger Goodell, who said this at a news conference last month. Goodell said that the league's rules and policies are designed around how do we increase the number of people that have an opportunity to have a career in the NFL, including people of color and women. Quote, we didn't get into this because it was a trend, and we're not getting out of it because it's a trend, Goodell said. We're in it because it makes the NFL better. Does DEI apply to their football players? No, it does not. And I don't think they're doing it in the NBA either. Not quite sure, but I don't think they are. David Glasgow, executive director of the Meltzer Center for Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging at New York University School of Law, who is probably soon not going to have a job over there, said he believes there will continue to be a mixture of companies withdrawing from DEI and those continuing their programs. Glasgow said he encourages professionals to stay committed to the cause because DEI itself is not going away. Also, it will keep Glasgow in a job a couple of months longer. The more people that stay committed to DEI, the more people will feel that, sure, we do need a Meltzer Center for Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, and we should keep paying David Glasgow to be our executive director. The fact that there isn't one human being of any skin color, gender, sexual preference, race, you name it, who can't stand up and explain clearly in a sales pitch that doesn't even have to be true, that could sell DEI in a legitimate way to the public, tells the whole story. You know, we have used car salesmen. We have people that do sell brands all the time. We have people that can sell anything that has really no value to it. That's DEI. But there's not one person, not one company, not one entity that can put out a DEI message that sounds reasonable, that people would say, look, I don't directly see the value, but I can see why other people see the value. Nobody's done it. Nobody's going to do it because there's no one intelligent enough in this scam to even try to pull that off. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you. And if you'd like to support the channel and help me make even more videos, join the channel and become a member today.